Yeah, that particular pain is good. But for the most part, we don't welcome pain, any kind of pain. One of the nice things that I myself personally am experiencing right now is I'm writing my will. And when you write your will, it's because you reflect on death, or you reflect on your life, on what you're going to leave behind, whether or not you're happy with the way you've lived, your relationships with various people. And so you kind of sit back and you say, okay, what am I going to leave behind? What do I have? What do I want when I'm done? You know? And it's not like you're fighting life and you're fighting death and you're fighting God and it's all about injustice that's being done onto you. You know? And it's a good exercise. You kind of sit and you just write everything down. It's beautiful. I like it. You should do it, but you're too young. Anyone else? Yeah.
You seem to say that there was more, their life was materially more miserable, the people that lived 150 years ago, but there was more potential for happiness than there is now. Is that right? Where I'm going with that is, for some reason, like, I want to say that I used to agree, but the thing that made an urge in me is my kids. Like, I see them, I'm like, they have exactly the same amount of potential to happiness, regardless of the environment. Like, I don't think it would have made any difference. She was born 1,000 years ago, now, in 100 years.
I mean, first of all, kids and having kids and getting married and all the stuff that we do in life, it's really, for the most part, a shot in the dark.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Now, I think Emerson and Thoreau, they were both right in the sense that whenever something new comes into your life, you know, it brings 10% positivity and it removes 90% of good things you used to have. Technology is really, really good, you know, because now it connects you to things that you never knew in the past. But now you realize, well, you don't see your father as much, or you don't see your kids as much. So it is true that you have technology at your disposal, but your human interaction has lessened by 80%. Now, as a father, when you look at your kid who is isolated, sitting in a room, just playing with their phone, you can't but worry. And that depends, for the most part, on the sort of parent that you are. You sit in your room and you say, how is he going to talk to a companion should anyone ever becomes interested in him or her? You know, are they ever going to be able to have a decent conversation? This kid is just not talking at all. You know, and then you kind of look at the trend of this particular culture. Isolation is not something that goes with us well. Eventually, you suffer from being lonely. You want to go out, you want to make friends, but you just don't have the proper tools because technology has destroyed certain parts of you. And then you have to be medicated. So, you know, you're happy in some sense and you're miserable in another. And it's true in the past as well. You don't have technology, but you have community. Here, you have technology, you just don't have community of people. Anyone else before we go home? Mohsen. Yeah? Yeah.
Have you seen the new Apple Vision Pro?
I'm sorry?
The Apple Vision?
This handheld headsets.
No. You have one?
No. I was just trying to see what your thoughts on how it would like.
I don't even know what they do. Anything I know about Apple is that you eat them.
Imagine a phone into your bicep.
Yeah. It's yeah. Anyone else? Grace.
How do you raise a child ethically? How do you do it? What are the principles you should rely on?
Well, let's talk about children first. Forget the ethics for right now. It's a bad question. Anyone else?
Okay.
Yeah, Sam. I'm sorry?
The kid is like acting a little
Acting moody?
unruly.
Unruly?
Couldn't hear the question.
Oh, you want to civilize a child?
Yes.
Of course, yes.
He's
Yeah.
swinging at a grocery
You want to domesticate it? Okay, that's great. It's very much like her question. When you say, how do you ruly and unruly child, it's like, how do you make them ethical? Okay, fine. Look at you. You like this? people being bored in this class, and yet any kid would walk out. Look at you, you sit here. For what? You know that saying, what benefit is there for man to gain the whole world but lose his own soul? So you sit here, you get a C, but 16 weeks of boredom and misery. You're very ruly, you're very civilized, you're very decent. But in adopting decency and being ruly and, conforming and all that, you lose something. But you think that you're only being ruly in this class. In a few years, you're going to find yourself in a cubicle, punching in numbers, all for a paycheck. And there is nothing wrong with that. You need to survive life. And once in a while, you want to fight back, your boss. But then there is the fear of losing your job. So you kind of carry this particular cross as well. And then if you happen to be really, really self-cunning, you say, Jesus wanted my life to be this way. And so you accept the misery in a very religious way. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. We all need tools to survive, and religion is a great tool. And I'm not really quite sure which is best. For someone to come to this class and realize that they're completely bored, they pack up the stuff, and they leave. They drop the class. In fact, they just walk away from academia altogether. And they go to the forest somewhere, cut some trees, make it into a raft, and they just float on the ocean. I don't know which is best. It depends really for the most part on your temperament. Conformity has, and being civilized, being ruly, and living in society, it offers you profound gifts. Safeway, Costco, being around people, being able to communicate, going to a coffee shop, the restaurants. They're gifts, man. Gifts that people for the longest time didn't have in any culture. But there is a price you pay for living in this particular environment. You go to school at the age of 5. You learn the alphabets, then you have to speak correctly, then you have to behave correctly. And before you know it, it's something that all parents experience. First, you're frustrated because your kids are jumping from one sofa to another. They scream, they shout, they throw temper tantrums. They're full of life. That's what life is. And then they get to be like 3. They have a cell phone of their own and a desktop and a laptop. And they just sit on the sofa and they play video games, for 10 hours. And once in a while, it's great because you don't have to deal with them. And then you say, what the hell happened to my child? I kind of miss him just being all over the place. But now he's just like a corpse, just sitting there. You have kids not because it's a rational thing to do. You have kids because it's the most irrational thing to do, especially for women. At a certain point, your body says, what's wrong with you, man? Give me some kids. And you look at your body and say, please, stop it. Why are you harassing me? And your body again says, I'm not harassing you, you're harassing me, give me kids. But I'm not even married. You don't need to be married, just go out there. Just find someone. It's like a minute. But, just give me a kid. And you say, but I don't have any money. Oh, money will come, don't worry. Oh, okay. And then you say, well, how are you going to raise this kid? Raising is easy. They just grow. It's the most irrational thing, and there is a reason for it. If you are one of the devotees of Charles Darwin, whatever is out there living, quacking, has this intelligence inside it. It wants to survive. It really does. Even if you have trauma inside you, and for the past many years you've been trying to get rid of the trauma, it's a living organism, man. It doesn't want to be removed. It has power. It wants to keep its power. And so whenever you kind of reflect on whether or not you should have a child, well, upon reflection, you realize there is nothing positive about, you know, I mean, you have no grandparents, you got no parents, you got no aunts, you got no uncles, you got losers as friends. You can't even depend on your husband because, you know, men, you know how they are. I mean, you're one, you should know. And you say, okay, well, I'm going to bring this thing into life. How the heck am I going to protect it? Now, especially the 0 from 10, the formative years, where they're soft. I mean, you really just need to be around them until the age 25, 26. But when you just leave them, I think Jean-Jacques Rousseau was right. The first criminals in any kid's life are the parents.
The first anything.
Yeah, anything, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Why 25 and not 18?
It's about your brain. It still has space to kind of just look at things. I mean, Einstein probably was right. At the age of 11, you kind of just lose the ability to learn anything.
Because how old were you when you said you came when you moved to India?
I was 11.
Yes.
Yeah, but, and that's a big but. From 0 to 11, I lived in Iran. I heard the call to prayer every single day. We went to mosques for fun. We went to lectures on politics and religion for fun, you know. So those are the years where they pour the concrete and they just let it sit. And you know, in the Middle East, it's an open door policy. You don't call and say, do you have time for me to come to your house and visit? No, they just knock on the door. Yeah. Anyways, anyone else before we go home? Silly?
Actually, you brought up a question about being in love. And I wanted to. Yeah, because you said something about being in the moment. And do you have to be in the moment for this last? And I wondered what it meant.
Well, I mean, for being the moment means like being like kind of like when I really think about it now, like after hearing the answer you give, it's more like it's kind of just like focusing on the present and not really thinking about like the whole you're not really working towards like the stuff. You're kind of just living and just walking through like this part of your life and seeing the certain part of your life. What was that doing? Like I really have like inside out. And I'm in a position where I think that's kind of what it is.
Is it hard to practice?
But again,
Yeah.
He's 18. Of course, it's hard to practice, and he shouldn't practice it. And you should never practice it.
I mean, yeah,
You should never be in the moment.
I don't think it's hard to practice. But like, it's like, it's not something you have to think about. But like, if you're not living in the moment,
I'm sorry. Forgive me. I don't mean to. But maybe you guys can like have a cup of coffee outside and just talk about this. And you can both live in the moment while drinking coffee and having conversation about living in the moment. Anyone else? Wesley, what is it?
Last week, we talked about how everyone has the same beliefs. Can you talk about that?
I'll give you an example. Let's say your grandparents are Christians, and by default, your parents become Christian, and because they're both Christians and it's a very powerful tool house, what you have is a library in the house, and 90% of the books are like different versions of the Bible. Okay? And then whenever you guys sit and talk, it's about trying to figure out what this verse is saying, what that verse is saying. And then as you're 1 or 2 or 3, your ears kind of just hear the stuff. And then once in a while, your parents have guests. And you realize, well, it's really just Bible study. And then you come to class, and someone from the back and says, what does it mean to be ethical? And your hand goes up. So, yes. And how old are you? Like 5. Christian. You're 5. What the heck do you know about Christianity? Well, and that's how it is. We are nothing but a bundle of advertisements. You are your environment. You know, the idea that you are what you eat. Well, you just don't eat pizza. You also eat what your parents give you intellectually, what society gives you in the form of advertisement. You are your surrounding. And it's very, very difficult for you to get rid of it. Now, will be very, very lucky as a parent if you can create an environment where about 90% of the things that you want to give to your kids are healthy. And healthy in the sense that as parents, you're looking at long-term health-wise, not so much being in the moment. You know, I mean, walk around the lake once in a while and observe how what parents do to their kids. Parents are on a mission to walk fast. The kids are very, very slow. Every pebble they see on the ground, they want to bend over, pick it up, put it under a microscope. It takes them like hours. There comes a point where parents have reached their max. They just yank the arm and they call the kid all sorts of names. And then you sit back and you say, man, the kid is 2 years old. If this behavior continues, where are they going to be when they're 5 or 6 or 10 or 15? And you can kind of predict the sort of future this kid is going to have. And so we are nothing but our environments. Emotionally, you get fed. Intellectually, you get fed what we call belief system, you know. And that's what it is. I mean, at a certain point, we'll do this on the board because you have 5 very, 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 very important kind of tools in your body. It's given to you at the moment of birth. You have eyes, you have nose, you have ears, you have touch, and you have taste. This is your factory. Everything is created here. Everything is. Now, what you have is the external environment. Whatever it may be. You may be Muslim, Buddhist, places with a lot of weed, doesn't really matter. Violence, okay? Now, this can inject trauma inside you. It can give you all sorts of things. Now, these 5 elements here, they create a good amount of conflict. Okay? You look at someone, you like what you see. Your nose says it smells bad. Will you follow your nose or will you follow your eyes? Okay? Now, it may be that your eyes see something and say, oh, that looks really good. Your nose says, that smells really good. But then they begin to talk. He says, oh, that smells really, really bad. This is your political world. And it has its own intelligence. I don't need to convince you that you should look at me and say, oh, what an ugly looking guy. Your senses will tell you. This is the most organic version of being a human being. Once the world from the outside comes into you, now what you have are right and wrong. The truth is, you don't want to look at me. But fear says, he studies body language, pretend. Now you become a con artist. And this takes place your entire life. Okay? Now, whatever you experience, okay? Whatever you experience that comes in, you do one very, very simple thing, which is you begin to interpret your experiences. Now, if you don't have intelligence, if you don't think well, if what has been given to you from the outside has been flawed, immature, raw, incomplete, your interpretations are going to be wrong. You're going to invest a good amount of time, okay? As time passes, you get to be 30, 40, 50, you realize it was wrong. Now, in addition to this, whatever you experience here, You put them in a place called memory. This is like your garage. Every time something happens, you go back to this, you compare and contrast. Every class has a textbook. Every class is organized. Every class has steps. I come to this class and we're just winging it. What the heck is this? And so this class becomes not so valuable because you have no idea what's going on. Other class, on the other hand, becomes valuable. Why? Because from the grade 1 to, say, 12, everything about your life has been organized. You come to this class, there is no organization. So this class becomes lesser value. Other classes become more valuable. Okay? Now, this becomes your addiction. This becomes your narrative. You will want your marriage to be this way. You will want your kids to be this way. Okay? Now, the problem with life is that once in a while, life will give you an experience that doesn't fit this. Okay? Everyone in your family has been married. There has never been an experience of divorce in any member of your family. Okay? Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. You get married for the first time, you realize you don't want to be in this relationship. But you have a history. Your own experience contradicts this history. You want out, but you're dealing with this. So it's very, very simple to understand why people are the way they are and why they behave the way they are. They do. It's not difficult at all. Okay? Since this is the kids and they have nothing inside them, and your task as parents is to feed them. Whoever the parents are, whatever their experience, eventually the kids inherit.
Can you break that? It would be a good example. Very, very early travel. Like a
Travel?
Traveling? Like
Traveling.
11 to India, you like the breaking up of that, the shattering of that environment and that town. If I take my kids now, it's all right, we're going to go live in France, or we're going to go live in Costa Rica, we're going to go.
So one of the things that they have discovered about palates, taste buds. If you're a woman at the early stages of pregnancy, if you're eating only carrots and broccoli, for example, when your kid comes out, their taste buds is not developed well, and so for the most part, they'll be very picky eaters. They probably only want carrots and broccoli. Okay, they're going to hate a good number of foods, dishes out there. If on the other hand, you are a woman, chicken tikka masala, tacos, cholo kebab, all sorts of like crazy dishes out there, when the kids come out, they want to go to Costco and try everything. And so what you have, very much like a child, if you want to take them to France, and then Guatemala, and then the Middle East, and then this, and then that, they have their taste buds, intellectually speaking, emotionally speaking, they're going to be accepting of all sorts of things, which makes them far richer than someone who only has interest in carrots and broccoli.
Language can do that too.
Yeah, it's like a window. Yeah, the more windows you have, the more light comes in. Yeah. Moises? Go ahead. Imagine you did.
I really can't think of that. I'm enjoying this.
By the way, there is a way to break this. And sure, it's the 5 stages, but it's the allegory of the cave. But we can talk about that at a different date. Yeah, please.
How can you trust your judgment?
Oh, you can't.
Something?
No.
Then what makes anybody more right than somebody else? You know what I mean?
Okay.
You have to, technically, I see what you're saying, you can't trust it, but you have to on some level to be able to you know what I mean? I don't know.
You can trust yourself riding the bicycle, sure. You can trust yourself, I suppose, walking home. You can trust yourself on the things that you can see and touch and the things you've experienced. But there are a good amount of gray areas in your life. First, I mean, you're 18. There are lots of things to discover. And it's usually best if you have a mentor of sorts. And it depends also what exactly it is you want to do. I mean, there are some people who are just born to be a genius. Mozart doesn't need to be told. His life is very, very simple. He's born, and a week later, he's at the piano. Okay? Now, these are very, very rare gifts to humanity. That they're born, and after like the age of 5, they say, you know what, I just love books. And they just sit and read constantly. The rest of us, we have no real talent, really. You have to figure out, you have to walk on college, look at all these restaurants, and then after 5 hours, decide what you want to eat. Okay? Now, for example, your case, if you're not a genius, you're going to do business, then you're going to do accounting, then you're going to do history, then you're going to do psychology, and then you're going to do math, and then you're going to get your master's in math, and then you're going to get a job in some branch in math, and then you're going to say, oh, this was a mistake. That's our life. Now, if you happen to be very, very, very lucky, very lucky, imagine I like you. I mean, I don't, but just imagine for a moment that I really, really like you, okay? And you've come to my office a few times, you and I have interacted, and you have a relatively good history. I look at you and say, and let's say you're like 28, and you already have your master's degree, you're just here for fun. So Moses, what are you doing? Nothing, I'm just having fun. I have lots of money saved, great parents, this and that. I said, you know what? I have a daughter. I think you'll like her, and I think she'll like you. Now, I know you don't have much of a culture, because you're American. But I like some of the things I see. And in a desert place like this, where there is a poverty of decent human beings, I say, why don't you come to the house? Let me see if my daughter likes you, and let me see if you like her. And then I realize she likes you, and I realize you like her as well. It's mutual. And then I have you come to the house every single day. And then I inject my culture in a very subtle way. And then next time you want to take my daughter for food, you say, well, let's go to make it have some Persian food. It's grown on you. Let's go to a Persian music concert. Let's do Persian this, Persian that. Okay? Now, absence of this, you have to go out there and find a companion for yourself and look around you. Now, you can trust your senses. I'm sure your eyes will lead you to someone who's very physically attractive but emotionally broken. And that broken person will be like a puzzle for you. And you'll spend the next like 5-6 years trying to figure this thing out and trying to make it work. And in the end, you'll suffer frustration. And then you will walk out. And you'll be jaded. I will save you from all that. The point is, if you're very, very lucky, a mentor can walk into your life. All of a sudden, you take a math class and you realize, well, that's your niche, math. Okay? Instead of spending like 5 hours playing video games, now you go to school and you do math. And by the time you're 25, you have a PhD in math from Harvard. And any door you knock, it'll open. And now you have a job. You have a profession in something you very much enjoy. That's a shortcut. Most of us don't have the luxury. Most of us have the long cut. You go out there, you experiment things. It fails you, or you fail it. And then, you just survive. They did this, yes?
So was White lucky in life?
I'm sorry?
You said only lucky person.
You have to be lucky to be happy in a marriage?
No. You said a lot of people do things and then they discover it was a mistake
Uh-huh.
in a late time. But only lucky people who realize early.
See, one of the things about sitting somewhere, looking at something, can I give you an example? Forgive me. It's a bad example, but I'll give it. And please forgive me. Forgive me again. Imagine you're single, and imagine I'm single. And we meet somewhere outside, and we talk, and you like me, and I like you. And let's say the liking blossoms into you really, really liking me, and me really, really liking you. And one day you come to me and say, Amir, when are we going to get married? Is this like something serious? Now, you're consumed with passion. I sit you down and say, listen, I am 60. You're beginning your life. I am ending my life. You have more time ahead of you. I have more time behind me. I'll probably have another 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Do you really want to spend your life taking me to Kaiser every day? I don't want to travel. I don't want to see people. All I want to do is just sit, watch a few good movies, have good conversations, and just be left alone. And see, what I've done is this. You have this passion. Passion is like what Ethan talks about. Passion, by its very nature, puts you in the present moment. You and I are talking on the phone and you're enjoying it. We're having food and you're enjoying it. Now what I'm telling you is, put your passion on the side. Reflect. Think deeply about your future. And what I'm doing is this. I'm saying, this is you. I need you to come out of you and sit here. Look at this relationship very, very closely. I am not 20 or 30 or 50 or 60. I'm 60. I'm getting sicker and more grouchy. Do not be consumed by the passion you have now. Look long term. The very way that you begin to reflect, it distances you, separates you from life. And now you say to me, and then of course you go home conflicted. Well, doesn't Amir love me? Doesn't he care for me? Is he actually telling me to walk away from the relationship? And the answer is yes and no. Whenever you reflect on something, whenever you think about something seriously, there is a part of you that stands on the outside, looks in, observes, studies, takes notes. And for the most part, depending on how in depth you're looking at something, there's a good chance that for the most part you'll find things to be profoundly negative. Unless nature or God has given you a very, very positive temperament, that you put a good spin, positive spin on everything out there.
You're saying picture yourself at the last stage of what you're going to, and then see if you can, if you see yourself there, and if not, don't go in this way.
Well, we don't really have access. I mean, look, you can't fathom, you can't imagine how it feels to be in a relationship with someone like me and going to Kaiser. You're young, you want a life, you want a rich life, a good life. And it doesn't matter what I say, it's very difficult for you to imagine that. The only way you will realize the horror of your condition is little by little, your love for me turns into frustration. Why is he sick all the time? I want my parents to come visit, but he is so sick, no one can come to the house. And all of a sudden, you get a taste of reality. And the point I'm trying to make is this. There is the intellectual aspect of something. Marriage is beautiful. Having children is beautiful. Going to school is beautiful. And then there's the practical application. Marriage is about lots of journeying through uncharted territory. You have no idea what's taking place, how to resolve issues, who the other person is, how to raise a kid in this environment.
Another example.
Sure.
Future. You was talking about someone that wants to be a professor in math or something. That's what I was talking about. Like, you picture yourself in the future.
Yeah.
And then see if you're comfortable.
Okay.
And walk in this path. If not, then you still can save your time and not walk in this path. relationship is not.
Okay.
It's not a good example because it's not like it's like study or other things.
Okay.
It's more clear. Relationship is like.
I understand.
It's love.
Okay.
So it's like.
Let me just give you one very quick example and we'll go. In the past many years of teaching, I've had lots of students who major in philosophy humanities. Some of them have even gone to Iran to learn the language. Okay. Some of them have become Muslims for some strange reason. They get their PhD, they walk into the classroom and they realize they're really awful.
You realize?
They're bad in the classroom as instructors. Or at least, and the thing I'm trying to say is this. You see something out there and you say, I want to be like that. Okay? And then you make this journey. You go to school, you study, you get A's, you get a job, and now for the first time, what lives in your head, now you have to express it. And there's a 30, 40 people audience. And the moment words come out, the moment you walk in, the nervousness, the sweat, that will reveal to you if you're good or you're only good in your imagination. No one knows. Now, you may enjoy math and you may want to go teach math, okay? You will do the work. You will get your master's. You will walk to the classroom and then you will see if you're good, if you're able to communicate ideas well, if your students like you. It depends on so many different things. It's not enough that you love math. Will they love math? It's not enough for them to love math. Will they be disciplined enough to do the assignments for math? So no one knows until they are tested in anything. It's good to...
This is the only thing I feel like if someone would waste their time of being not figure out at the end if they're like they wasted their time is like it's a studying path because once you be something you already wasted many years.
Yeah.
And then you realize this is not me.
Yeah.
This is not what I want. What relationships, other things in life you can do. Like you can go in other relationships very quick. It doesn't take time.
It's true.
So it's what someone should be really think carefully about
Yeah.
their future is what they want to be in this life.
Yeah. As someone who's had a lot of Persian friends who've gone into the MD program, becoming, doctors, I've had very many friends who are at the last couple of years of their program only to realize they don't want to be doctors. It happens sometimes.
So
Yeah.
we have to be very careful choosing our majors.
Yeah.
Choosing our life.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky or unlucky, and no one really knows what the path is. We'll talk more. Have a nice day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.